Hello, my name's Ray. This is Sianda. We're going to be installing a 1.8 meter solar cooker today. You're looking for the ideal position, preferably all year round sun, winter, summer. Be close to your kitchen, preferably in a wind sheltered position. Dig the hole. We're going to do approximately a 30 by 30 by 30 deep hole. Yes, the hole's looking good. It's a half bucket stone, half bucket sand, now a quarter bucket cement. Mix your cement. Must be nice and runny, but not sloppy. Do the top, right? Oh, perfect. Force it into the concrete mix. You don't want to take it too deep because you do not want it to touch the ground, so you approximate to a hand distance between the ground and the bottom of the nip tube. Spot on level. Check your other level, other way. 100% level there. Double check. Opposite level. Alright, to stabilize your stand, we're using the 4 blocks. Checked our levels completely. Push in that 4th block. Make sure nothing moves. Your stand's in. Now you'll have to wait a minimum of 3 days drying time for that stand to be stable. Tools necessary: pop rivet gun. A long reach pop rivet gun will make the job a lot easier. Size 10 spanner, size 13 spanner, size 17 spanner, a shifting spanner, a 6mm star screwdriver, and a sharp knife. Take your reflector sheets, so look at them properly. On the one side you'll notice that there is a plastic film. Now this plastic film must not be exposed to the sunlight at all. It'll give you a big problem. It'll melt on you and you're not going to get it off. So very important, do not expose this to sunlight. Plastic sheet side facing up. Take the petals, arrange them. Always checking plastic side up. One with a hole on top of the next one. Always making sure that you've got the bigger holes on top of the smaller holes. It'll be 3 plates per section. It'll be pop rivet together. Grab your pop rivet through the top hole. Make sure it fits into the bottom hole. Perfectly lined up with the second sheet. One pop rivet. Swap the sheet. Maybe Sianda, you can help me to pop rivet here, please. Just try and just keep it straight all the time so that you don't force it like that in order to bend, not to bend the sheets. Perfect, thank you. Alright, find your center spot. Right, every second hole's been pop riveted. Give it a slight concave, pop the rest of the rivets in. As you're fitting the parabola together, Make sure you curve it inwards so that the holes line up perfectly. As you're placing the pop rivets, put them in the top one, look for the bottom one. It will be a tight fit, so make sure that you force it in properly and get the pop rivet to stand up straight before you are pop riveting it. Reflector sheets, one with a big hole in it, the one with no holes, following your overlaps. Underneath that one, line up the holes, fit the pop rivet. That's okay, you don't have to worry, just pop rivet it. And pop rivet it. Once you got that one pop riveted, come around to the other side. That side a little bit like that. Get your top one into position. Of course, make sure your two holes are on opposite sides of the parabolic. Hole, place the pop rivet and pop it in. Fitting the rim onto the parabola. Taking one of your quarter aluminium strips, bring it up to the parabola, slip it into the rim, checking that the marked line that is drawn onto there, the rim is lining up exactly with that line. Making sure your sheeting slips into that quarter circle. Right, so there, please. Bring us your next quarter round. Slipping in that one, making sure it fits properly. Reflectors are fitting properly into the rim. You may hold that one. And double checking your second line here, that the two are within the lines, or on the lines. Third rim, same story, close to that, on that line. Be sure it fits in, slipping into the parabol. Last quarter round. Sure, it's fitting perfectly in. Just on either side of the line. Either side of the line, double check. Opposite side, double checking that the two quarter rims are exactly on each side of that line. A very important point to remember is do not expose the parabola to the direct sunlight until the PVC sheet has been taken off. Otherwise you will damage the aluminium sheeting on the inside. Bolting the rim. Taking the 6mm by 40mm long bolts and nuts. 6 brackets that are supplied, starting on the sections that have not got a hole punched into them. Fitting the first bracket sheet with no punched hole. First bolt pushed through the bracket. Fit the second bracket onto the bottom. Put your nut. Take a star screwdriver, thin one, same diameter as the bolts. Push through, look for your holes, go directly through, make sure get it to line up. Take your nut, slip it out, take your nuts and bolts, and push through, and fit nut. Using an extra hand to stabilize properly. We're coming to the next side. Same thing. Reflector without the big punched hole in it, starting with the top bracket. Push your screw through. Take the bottom bracket. Into that screw. Holes. Line up the bottom hole. Fit the nut. But this time you're only using one bracket from the top, not a bottom bracket, one bracket. Your screwdriver. Bolt through. That's it. Next bolts. Outer side, far end. Taking it through and lined up 100%. Last bracket. Reflective sheet. Big punched hole. Using only one on the top. Roll through and nut.
Yeah. All right.
Beyond. Nut on. Make sure brakes are fitting well. Push down. Finger tighten for now. Bracket, double bracket over the reflector sheet, no hole, fit the 2 remaining screws. Take your 6mm screwdriver, push it through, make sure the holes line up. Take your bolt, slip your screwdriver out, push your bolt through, fit the nuts. Brackets are fitted finger tight. Come back, make sure that both your brackets are fitting snugly over the rim, and just give it that extra little bit of a nip, not over tight, because you'll come back and do the proper tightening last of all. So just a reasonable nip that your brackets are fitting in snugly. Taking your 4mm stainless steel self-tapping screws, looking up into the rim here, screwing it in, making sure that it's fitting snugly underneath the frame and it's just nipped, not over tightened. You'll strip the aluminium. Carry on fitting the remaining of the self tappers into their position, screwed into the rim. Fitting the clutches and the pot holder bracket. Coming to the parabola, the brackets, you have not put the 2 center bolts in yet. Take your 6mm screwdriver, push through the holes, make sure they're lined up. Do the same on the other side, make sure it's lined up. Go to the opposite side, do the same thing, make sure they're 100% lined up. Next position, can we turn it over now? Now what we'll do is just flip the whole parabola over. Come to our 2 pot holder grate arms and clutches, pre-assembled already in the kit. Take the one arm, look for the big hole punch through the sheeting, push your arm in, taking your 6mm bolts, pick up the parabola slightly, push them in from the bottom, take your clutch, fit it on there, put the nuts, take your 6mm screwdriver, lift the parabola, push it through, make sure everything's pulling in nice and tight there, take a nut and bolt, push it through, nut on. Opposite side, taking the other pot holder bracket, same story, pushing it in gently, the hole. Taking your 6-ball nut and bolts, pushing it through and bolting this clutch on. Lift the parabola slightly, fit in your 6mm screwdriver, make sure it's all lined up properly, and fit your next bolt. Fit the nut, tighten down and make sure both nuts are just finger tight for now. For joining up the 2 pot grate holders on the inside of the parabola, we're making sure that our wing nuts on the clutches on both sides are loose so that we've got movement on these arms in order to line up the bolts on the ends. Just lift it up just a little bit. Climb in, a helping hand there, climb inside. The pre-existing nut and bolt that's in there, in the arm. So take those out. Turn them, get them in position. Fit your bolts. One that side for now. Other one. Take a second bolt, line up your holes, push through. Nut it. Making sure that nice and snugly fit, finger tight. Size 10 spanners. And tighten all your nuts and bolts. Once all the brackets, all the parts have been fitted and finger tight, you're coming back to your step now where you're going to tighten all the bolts. Do not over tighten, it is aluminium, it will kink, so all it needs is a nice firm nip up. Going all around, you're making sure that all your bolts are fitted and tight and snug. We're going to come to taking off the plastic film on the inside of the parabola. Get up bucket handy. Have a good sharp knife. Be very careful now to take your knife. Look for the overlapping sheet. Put your knife right up against it. Slowly, without making a mistake or slipping, just slice down, keeping your knife exactly on the side of the next sheet, all the way down to the bottom. Next one, same thing, knife right up against the next sheet, slicing all the way down. And you carry on all around the parabolic soda cooker until you've got a slice down each one. After the slicing, get your fingernail in there, get hold of that PVC sheeting, pull it back, get it off. Pull it gently. Throw it into your dustbin. After 3 days drying, we're back fitting our arms. Pre-existing bracket on it already, bolts in there. Fit it into your stand. Come on over to the other side. Take your other arm. Back into stand. Push in. Make sure they're fitting in nice and tight, nicely centered, same distance each side. Start and tightening your nip bolts. Arms fitted. Coming to the top of our arm here. 3 bolts, take out the top 2 nut bolts, same on the other side. Okay, to the center there, long nut, bracket, push your one bolt through. Put a washer, put a nut. Your last bolt, the shorter one, push through, washer, nut. Finger tight, everything. Your 13 spanner, shifting spanner. Tighten up your nut and bolts. Gently nip and tighten everything. Come down to your nip bar, bottom bolts, nip them up, just gently, don't over tighten. Give your arm a little wiggle, make sure that it's sitting in there tight. Come to your top bolts, nip those up gently. Equal force on each one. Give your arms a bit of a shake, make sure, and then come back for the final tighten. They're not over tightened. You don't want to misform the inner tube. Perfectly tight. Make sure your wing nuts are nicely nipped in there. You've got to and fro movement on your cooker, not too tight, nice gentle movement there. You don't want it blowing around in the wind, so come up to your clutches on your sides. Doing the same thing, making sure there's gentle movement there. Wing nuts, very gentle nip. Do the same on the other side. Tighten just enough so that the wind will not move it. Take your grates, check where the sun is. You don't burn yourself. Direct the cooker out the sun. Fit your pot grates.